kxf250 2004 parts to be fitted. Top end gasket set, standard piston, Prox stainless steel exhaust valves, Prox stainless steel intake valves with springs. There's a cylinder head. There's the old valves, the buckets, the shims and the old collets. And the old piston. The rest of the parts: cylinder head, rocket cover, gasket, cylinder head bolts, cam chain tensioner, cam chain guide. There's a new genuine Kawasaki valve collets. This is the bike those parts will be getting fitted in. 2004 kxf250F. There's a quick picture of the cylinder barrel and all the parts off, ready to be fitted. There's a cylinder head now with two of the valves put in. The intake valves has been lapped in, and I'm going to be lapping in the exhaust valves and then turn the head over and fitting the exhaust valves with the collets and keepers in place. And there's all our valves back in the cylinder head. New stainless steel valves, new springs and new valve collets. So next I'm going to be getting the camshafts in and getting them shimmed up to correct size. It's the inlet cam and cam cap back in place with the original shims within the bike when he took it apart. So obviously there's going to be a different amount of shim needed now because the new valves will have a different measured length. So fitted them, and with the minimum clearance feeler gauge. There's no clearance at all, which is not a surprise. So everything has to come back off, and we'll go substantially thinner shim and then hopefully get clearance, and they can work out what the correct gap is going to be. Right, there's a cylinder head which is built back up with the correct shims in it now after doing all the shim calculations, what was fitted, what was needed. So the exhaust clearance should be around 1.7, well say 0.17, so we'll go in with a 0.20. There's a nice firm drag there. It's just fucking not easy when you're trying to work on something at the same time. And that lobe there, it's getting short, nice firm drag there. That's at a point, it's a 0.2, so that's okay. And we're going to check the inlet cams now. I check the inlet cam shaft clearance, making sure the dots are lined up there, so it's the correct place to check them. I try at the 1.5, sorry, 0.15, which is on the upper edge of the measurements, rather than tight. can hold that at the same time. Right. Nice drag there. And a nice drag there, so I'm happy with them. So the clearances are pretty much 1.15 on the inlets, and the exhaust is 0.20, which is the upper measurement of what is specified in the manual, which is better than having it on the lower edge of it. And then we're going to run the bike in, and then it'll have a clearance check after everything's settled in. So that's it. Here's the engine on the kxf, still with its original piston in, which is going to be getting removed now and a new piston fitted to it. There's a cylinder barrel off the engine now. It's showing some signs of wear, but what you'd expect, no real scuffing or what have you. So, you know, unless you'd want to spend £150 on a re-chrome, that's perfectly usable to go back on. There's a piston now removed from the engine. It's obviously showing some signs of wear, but you know, you can sit there and measure it, but there's no point in getting fitted with a new piston. It looks like the original piston in it, marked with ART. There's a new piston kit. Piston made by Namora. Piston ring, real scraper ring set, circlips and gudgeon pen. Right, there's a cylinder head back on now.
One of my favourite rock ballads ever. I don't know, she's amazing. I met her once, and it's just so weird, after version.
All signed up to top dead, ready to start putting the camshafts in. The buckets are in place already, obviously they could have shimmed them up before. There's the camshafts back in the cylinder head. And the correct cam timing, tops lining up, and the gasket surface, and between the dot here and the dot there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 times 2 and a link, 12 pins between the dots, gasket marks lining up, and the engine lining up in there at top dead centre. Right. The cylinder head's all down now with the cams in, the rocker cover's back on, the valve clearances are all being checked and they're still okay, although they'll need to be checked once the motor's running, as there's new valves being fitted and the valve seats haven't been recut or what have you, so only just bedded in with the new valves. So that's all back on there, carburettor's bolted up, got a line of radiators back up, do all the plumbing, finish plugging all the wires off. Fit the exhaust and carry on. Right, that's the bike first fired up. So let it run up and warm up. The exhaust needs repacked a bit loud, and then check the warm and the oil on it like.
It's described as a novel in verse form. It's not short.
No, and that initially put me off it because I was at a friend's house and I was 17 and I was bored.